Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks is a podcast where we talk about life issues, we talk about humanity, we talk about social media trends, businesses, the people. And on today's show, we have a topic that has to do with our health, but not just the health, our mental health. We'll be talking about mental health challenges and how to cope with those challenges. We all know what we are going through in the face of the current economic hardship. There are so many people are depressed, so many issues here and there. So these are things that can cause mental challenges, but we'll be looking at them, and we have a guest who will be doing justice to this topic. I am the Grandmaster, and I'll be your host today. Hard Nurse is brought to you by Walure Media. To my right, I have my guest.
My name is Ade Adedoi. I'm a medical laboratory scientist. I work with Neuropsychiatric Hospital Aro.
I have my usual suspect here, who is popularly known as OD.
OD. I'm on the show as usual, and it promises to be an interesting one, as always.
Someday you need to tell the viewers the meaning of your name, OD.
Okay,
Even the
someday.
pronunciation.
OD. Not OD. That's the Englishman's pronunciation. The meaning, someday.
All right. So, like I said earlier, we'll be talking about mental challenges and the coping strategies. Now, talking about mental challenges, how do you know that you are mentally challenged? And what are the causative factors?
Okay, when we talk about mental health, so at first I think a definition would do justice to that. So according to WHO, mental health is a state of well-being where an individual realizes how they could cope with stress and how they could promote the surroundings. So once that definition is being altered one way or the other, whereby you can't cope with stress or you can't really be productive to your community, that's how it's setting that there's something wrong with the mental health, and that is really a mental health illness.
Okay, so what gives room to those? That's the mental health challenges that we
So
have.
according to statistics, actually, and in 1 out of every 8, that's let's say around the world globally, we have 970 million of individuals suffer from mental health challenges, and mostly this is depression, this anxiety, phobia, and the like. So those are actually the major causes of mental health issues, like around among people, and it's really really alarming because we really don't see it as something that is bad. We see it as something that is meant to be living with us, like something we need to cope with. Like we're not really understanding the fact that is that we speak out, or is it that we just keep absorbing and it keeps damaging us. We keep enduring the damage that is doing to ourselves.
Now, if I have a mental health challenge, let me be specific now. If I'm depressed, is it possible that I don't know that I am depressed?
It's not possible you don't know you're depressed, because it has to do with depression is a mood disorder. So there is no how one will know if one is depressed, except if one just sees it as a norm. But the person will know that there's something, like there's an alteration in my mood. There's a mood change. Is that it's being elevated or it comes down so low, being very sad, or person will just feel irritably, like things are not meant to just count, to just trigger this so-called mood. So I don't think what someone will not know if they are depressed or if they are not mentally stable.
I've seen people who have this positive outlook to life. They are always happy, irrespective of their situation. Sometimes I've heard that even depression can be a bit hidden that you may not know. For example, someone can be depressed, and as a result of that depression, the person starts overfeeding. So that's why I asked her if it's possible that one is depressed and you don't even know that you are depressed.
Yeah, there's something they call in the various types of depression we have. There's something we call persistent depression. So when one is depressed, one is just more like, okay, something is going on, something is bothering me, but let me just look for a way out. That's some people see it as a coping mechanism. So let me just look for a way out. And by the time they look for a way out, they say that, okay, this suits me. And why some are always being mindful. There's always a strategy called mindfulness. Like them being mindful, living in the moment, forgetting about everything and living in the moment. And that's just the major and the most important thing to do in life actually, because being mindful makes you look like you actually glow more, forgetting about everything that you're going through, or any mental thing that you think that you're already running through, be it stress, is it divorce or trauma or anything. They tend to live in the moment and not think about the future or think about the past. So they found a way around it. They might be experiencing depression, but they found a better coping mechanism for that depression, which will not make it stay like it's just for a while.
So since we're talking about what you exhibit when you're depressed, so I want to the word OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, right? And ADHD, are they symptoms of depression, or they are a type of depression it's in itself, or they are a different kind of disorder? Do they relate to our mental health?
Yeah, they relate to our mental health because there's something that triggers OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Because just at the sight of a stain, they can start getting triggered. Like, what's this? What's this, like getting anxiety or having to talk without being cautious of who they are or where they are or whoever they're talking to. So I feel like it's not a type of depression, but it's a type of mental disorder that they really need to work on.
So now, how treatable are these particular things I mentioned? Is it like is it something that can be made to go away?
It's not treatable, it can only be managed actually, because it's not really something that has to do with the neurotransmitters being altered or anything, but it's just something that they need to manage it and find a better way to survive under the triggers.
So upon being managed, does it to keep going down?
When they keep managing it, like there's something they call exposure therapy. So there are some people that they get to expose them to all these, like that OCD. Mr. Ode said, like you need to expose them to, not totally. You really need to expose a bit of that dirtiness to, like, find when they get to find themselves in these environments. How do they manage themselves? How do they tend to be calm, or do they trigger that much that they can't even find a space to manage within people? So those kind of people, I think they should try that kind of a therapy, and knowing the individual self will go a long way in helping to know the kind of therapy or the kind of treatment that is good for the person.
So I this is, maybe I don't know if it's going to be funny to everybody, but um growing up, I know there is a spotlight on mental health now, at least in our own
Yeah.
society. We are becoming more and more enlightened. But back then, why we Africans shy away from, once you hear mental, the guy don't the crazy be that, and nobody wants to be associated. So oftentimes they can even tie you with a chain. But seeing that you work in a home with this kind of persons, are there some disorders that, is it every mental sickness that somebody has to come to a psychiatric home?
Yes, it's every mental sickness you have to come. If you can come to a psychiatric home, you tend to have a personal it's personal psychologist, whereby he or she needs to assess, then the person needs to recommend and help manage the situation. So it's not a must you step out to the hospital and like make everybody know that you have this before you get treated. Now we thank God for advancements, and we thank God for technology. Like you can sit at the comfort of your home and try to talk to a particular people, like vent out to people. So I think I saw it. Even if it's not on TikTok, they said you get paid for talking to white people that are
Yeah, I think
bored.
I've seen that. Yeah.
I'm like,
People
I've
wow,
seen
make
that
this is
people
too.
make
very
money on
like
that.
I'm like
Yeah.
like this is very good because basically I found myself in a situation whereby I'm overwhelmed. Like I've been overwhelmed with stress and I couldn't just step out of work because I really need to keep pushing. And I'm like, who did I want to talk to? Who understand me? Me that I'm working, they'll now say that I'm happy. I was like, okay, no problem. So I always reach out to one of my friends that I know that even if he doesn't really have what to say, but I know he would always listen to me. Like that one thing, that's what we called psychotherapy. Just allow the person vent out, just allow the person talk. So that's why I always tell my friends, I might not be at the right position to give the right answer to what you want, but don't worry, I'll always be here to listen to you. So that one thing really helps to ease the nerve and helps the mental well-being to just redirect back that okay, you're still on track. At least I have people to talk to.
So now I'm looking at is modernization, because looking at our African setting, we believe in communal living, and maybe I use the word maybe that's why mental health wasn't taken seriously in the past, because there are some people that says saying you are what was this word the Gen Z use, depressed, is a luxury.
Yeah.
Is a luxury, right? I don't believe that anyway. So they treat it like a luxury, and that's the black man's mentality. Oh my, wait till you dey talk, you did, because we always have a shoulder to lean on due to our communal kind of living. But don't you think modernization is what is now um making this thing to become more heightened in our society, in the sense that everybody is moving to the urban center. And when you come to the urban center, the ideal is wake up, especially if you're in Lagos, you wake up around 6 a.m., you go to work, you face work, by the time you come back, so you don't have the time to mix. When I mean mix, genuine people that you share happiness with. So you spend less time with your family and all. Don't you think over time this is what is contributing to, because we are drifting away from the ideal African society where everyone is expected to commune. So people are now more comfortable being on their
Their
own.
own.
Before you see it's a normal thing for your neighbor to check up on, when you wake up, my neighbor, how are you? But we are not living the life where everybody, you hear people brag about, we just deal. Me, I know they talk to anybody for here. I dey work. I just deal on my own. If I see my neighbor, good morning. So don't you think over time, because we are moving from our ideal African style of living, it's contributing to these things?
I would say it's contributing because, like you said, we always feel like let me just do my thing in my own way. Like I don't want extra person in my space, which is not really going to be okay. Like for me, I'm actually the kind of person that like keeping my cool. Like let me be on my own, but that doesn't stop me from having to recognize my social gatherings, like my social groups. Like I could like there was a time I was at the peak of it. Like the stress level was high. I could feel it. That okay, fine, this thing is getting to the beam of it. And I just told my friend, babe, I'm coming to Lagos. I'm not coming to do anything, no, but let me just move out of my comfort zone. Let me just come to your house. If it's just to sleep, at least I'm seeing you and I'm seeing somebody to talk to. I'm seeing somebody to at least make a little joke with and let's while away time. And even if it's just to order food, don't worry, we'll order food and eat. But then at the long run, whenever I get to a place, just like we can't stay at home, let's go out. Like we need to move, speak to our loved ones, which we know that can take us out of our comfort zone. They actually call it comfort zone with the fact that we don't want disturbance. We always just want to be on our own, enjoy the little life that we're enjoying, and not being bothered about anything. And I think it is actually not so good. We need to move out of our comfort zone, and like sometimes you need to attend social groups where you can talk to people, listen to advices, and you need to share more light on particular issues. And the time we start having to feel like someone is our responsibility, like our neighbor is our responsibility, I think is going to make us feel much more okay. Because I think I've heard a scenario about someone that they were neighbors and they didn't know that the other neighbor as like she slumped and she has been dead for like 3 days in the house. If there was a communication, like you said, it's really going to have saved a lot of back and forth, or making the issue that bad. Because if it was an instant slump and the person passes by the other, my neighbor, Alpha, hope you're good, and the person has to reply. If the person is not getting the reply, the person will know that there's something wrong somewhere.
yeah.
So I think with what you said, I'm going to really say that we shouldn't really live that kind of a lifestyle. Even if we're about this quiet person, or we're about this I am all to myself, or kind of I just want to be in my lane. I don't want interference or anything. We should at least extending the act of kindness to the next person really, really goes a long way.
Okay, what you are saying is we should, but that's not the reality on ground now. Now, I think social media has contributed to this, and I'll create a scenario. We've seen instances where some persons can just be on their own, create their own world, live in their own world. If possible, marry in their own world. It happens, yes. They do virtually everything in their own world. Probably, maybe they find themselves in a very hostile environment. So they do everything. Now, would you say that's good enough for the mental health of such person? That, okay, you find yourself in a hostile environment and you feel you cannot live within that environment. Now, let me create my own world and live in that world where where I will understand myself. I'm well understood. Unlike when you're in the midst of people.
I'm not saying that's good enough, or I would say that's good
So
enough.
what kind of mental state is that?
That's more like going into depression. Like you really don't think anything around you matter.
Wow.
You just want to live in your own world, do everything in your own pace, having to be in your own cycle. Like not even cycle now, in your own, like in your own
You create your own
world. That's more like depression. Like the person doesn't see another person as their responsibility. The person doesn't take the need of the next person serious. Like, fine, I think the person should actually be at the watch out for each other. Even the Bible buttressed on it.
The person might not be living alone in that world. He has people,
that
imaginary figures he's living with. I've seen a film where the lady actually got married to a guy.
But was in imagination.
She had never seen that guy before. But she created that figure and everything just in that world, and she was living in that world. So at some point, it was looking like a severe mental case.
Like you said, it's a mental case, a very big one.
But some people see it as one of the ways they could even maybe ease the tension.
No, that's not even close to the coping mechanism. That's not even close to the ways to ease the tension. Like you need, like if you're talking about the ways to ease tension, at first you really need to exercise yourself. Go, like it's like you get treated with the use of the psychoactive drugs, which is it can be antidepressants, or you go into psychotherapy where you talk to people, where you talk to a therapist one-on-one, or you go into there are several kind of therapy that one can involve in. Is it the animal therapy, exposure therapy?
So who is responsible for such person? Because I said earlier that some persons don't know they are depressed.
Such person,
except
I think,
if you have people around you
that would point it. I think lack of awareness is. I would say that's really what is wrong with the person. Lack of awareness, or
what about willingness to actually get treated?
That, or should we say stigmatization, the fear of rejection, or the fear of stigma, or the fear of judgment.
It's possible. Maybe for example, for someone like maybe an HIV patient now, and that person has been stigmatized by everyone around him or her, and it feels, okay, fine. If you guys do not accept me, I'll live in my own world. I'll create my own world. Or maybe for someone who is an ex-inmate, and it feels like, okay, if the society will not accept me, let me create my own. Now, so what is the place of social media in the issue of mental health?
Well, social media on the good side is good because we get information from it. We get to see more to life. But on the other side, it has a negative influence because we kind of create a kind of imagination, or we kind of create what our mind wants to hear. Like when they portray
Fantasy world.
yeah, fantasy world, and then there's this hormone that keeps secreting. There's an hormone we call dopamine that is very easy, anything good, anything okay. So when we get to find ourselves in a situation whereby it's not so comfortable, we tend to drift totally away and say no, this is it, because that's what we've created. That's the mentality that we've fed ourselves with. That's what we've really given ourselves. Like we don't want to think it can go this way. We don't want to think it can work that way. We just want to think it is this way or
What you
no
saw
way.
on- what you saw on the reel.
What she say?
What you've seen on the reel.
Yeah,
You feel like
so
that's how
it should be, like a norm. I can create a scenario of someone that is mentally sick, and you feel like there's always a mind that someone that is mentally sick cannot work like normal work that people that are mentally okay, like someone cannot do it. That's really, really not the fact. Someone that is mentally not okay can actually still work the normal work with that we're not mentally derailed that we can do. So far the person is steadily taking the treatment and going to the clinic for frequent
I should work with the person, or who will work with the person?
the funniest part is that I've seen someone in my field that is mentally not okay, and it still produces, it still discharges his
Well,
duty,
there are
like
no
it still does
occasional
his
drift off.
there's always there was an occasional drifter, but he snoozed, and he was like he wants to resign, and he wasn't
Me, I'm not even
aggressive.
scared of that kind of one. It's
He
the
wasn't even aggressive. He
and this
wasn't
thing.
that was why he said there will be lapses. But in as much as they are taking their drugs and they eat LD and they do things to actually keep their nerves down, like keeps their neurotransmitter, like keeps their brain at ease, I feel they can cope in any situation. Like I've seen scenarios whereby they've not, like there was a man that was basically dumped in the hospital, and the only thing the hospital could do was to get them a job, and as they are doing the job they are treating them. I think that's actually fair enough, because you can't discard the person. There are a lot of mentally deranged people out there that don't have that they're not really taking care of them, but then at the long run they're just being useless and they're not being properly kept. But having to give them a chance to show themselves and show what they have, and I think is fair enough. We shouldn't stigmatize them because they are mentally unstable and start shedding away. No.
Okay, so I want to ask, what form of mental disorder or illness leads to these people that kill people? They call them psychopath, or what do we call them? I hope I'm calling the right
Yes.
word.
You call it the right words.
Psychopath, right?
Yeah.
What form of mental disorder is that?
I think we can look towards schizophrenia, because for schizophrenia patients, he or she always just think like everybody wants to harm them, have these thoughts in their head, like seeing images and trying to just not comprehending that even someone that is so close to them that they have to bet on their own, they feel this person wants to harm them. So at everything they'll be at alert to just fight back, make sure that they are the one on the.
And they kill and kill and kill.
Not that they kill and kill and kill. Before they will kill, at least they should have done, like they should have reacted in a way that either the neighbor or the person they're trying to harm will be so sure that this person is mentally unstable. Then once they reach out, I think there are drugs that they can use to.
What
suppress
psychopath
them.
that have been killing, covering their crimes and all of that,
And
especially
psychopaths that didn't reach out for treatment.
that didn't reach out for treatment,
Yes,
because
proper treatment.
some of those people, like he was asking, do they even know that? Of course, they know they are committing a crime, right? I don't know how this thing works, but what kind of treatment? Is there a treatment for that person, or the person should be,
No, there are treatment for them. That there are treatments. We have psychoactive drugs. Like
So if I'm just scared, like if this person is a
But for such
psychopath,
people now, I think they derive pleasure from it.
Yes.
The same way you will derive pleasure from some other things you do. So it gives them joy. Maybe when they see
blood or
people
something.
fight for their life, they are killing, they see blood. So I think it gives them pleasure. So they derive that pleasure from it intermittently, and they keep on doing that thing until they realize that something is wrong with them?
Obviously, they've realized something is wrong with them, but they've not really taken the bold step. Because they can't say that they don't like it. I'm sure they would fine, even if they feel the pleasure of having to kill someone or having to shed blood or having to see people struggle for their life. One way or the other, after this scenario, there's always a thin line that will make them come back to reality, even if it's just for few minutes or few seconds, and they'll be like, oh, they've done something alarming or they've done something bad, and they'll tend to cover it up. And once that thing comes back again, I think in the process of trying to cover up whatever that has been done, speaking up, saying what you want to say, like talking to someone, opening up really, really would have been a good solution rather than accumulating the whole killing or the whole feeling. That even gets it deeper in their own.
But that's for the person who can talk, who is ready to open
talk.
up. But for someone who is an introvert, that's a big challenge.
That was why I said that there are different therapies for different people, because they need to understand the person that talk. Like the therapist needs to understand the individual before knowing the kind of therapy that will work for the person. They might be noticing some changes, and someone just like, this person is just indoor, and at some point will just air like a slam on the floor bow. And please, really, maybe it's someone that will just knock on the door and talk to the person. Like even in therapy, the first thing the therapist does is to make sure the individual feels so comfortable.
Yeah.
So if the person doesn't feel very comfortable, that is not how the person will talk. So they will keep trying till they get the particular therapy that makes this person feel comfortable. Is it friend? Is it friend therapy, family therapy? Is it interpersonal therapy? Maybe there's somebody that even if the person is a therapy, there's no how the person won't be very open to a particular person. Or even if the person is not open to a particular person, something will trigger the person to have a very soft part. So is it about having to do with social gatherings, or the person just like going to a place to maybe to swim, and just exposure therapy? There are lots of things to do to actually make an individual feel so comfortable to the point that they can share or talk or say whatever that they are harboring or saying their thoughts.
Okay, still talking about speaking out. Now, let's move to the issue of sexual assault. For someone who has been sexually assaulted, you and I know it's not easy to speak out, especially the society that we find ourselves. You go to report to the police, the kind of demeaning questions they will be asking will further exacerbate the issue. You rather remain silent than say, okay, let me talk. Now, for such person, it can also result to mental health issue. Now, what would you suggest to such person? Because the truth of the matter is, it's not easy to go out. How would such person handle such if he or she wants to handle it on his or her home?
It's not easy to go out, like you said, and that's why most of them, they tend to come up with this disorder, genophobia. Is that they are always scared to have sex because of the assault, or they will just move totally away from men. Like men, they become so scared of men because they believe because they have the power to harm. Like this is something they've done before, so they feel they would have the power to harm them again. So I feel like having to stay healthy, like eat more food, and I think there should be a gathering. There should be a particular gathering that should support that kind of people, whereby they need to share their opinion without being judged, or having a one-on-one, a private therapeutic section would go a long way. The therapist, that is their job. They don't need to judge you. They don't need to make you feel bad or feel wrong for anything or for whatsoever that they've done. So they just listen to them and just make them understand that this is how they should go about it. I think there was a time I watched a movie about a lady that was abused by her stepfather, and it got so bad that she now became a sex addict. That every single time she would just every single time she has that dream, even if it's in the middle of the night, she would basically wear her clothes and step out just to get a guy to sleep with her. So, and at some point she was fighting with it, and she finally had a boyfriend, and she was trying her best to make sure that the guy fits in. Like, let me just narrow it down this way. She wasn't still talking to anyone. She wasn't opening up to anyone. The thing was eating her up and she was going with it. So then the guy was like, so I think she made a mistake one day and the guy just saw her outside. She was like, she has been calling the guy didn't answer and she felt like she just come out and pick just a random person.
Random guy.
And even in my own head, I'm like, really picking just a random person. Like, where is that self-control? But I could just reason with her that, okay, there are some times that when you're in that scenario, that self-control can't come in. You just want to go for the thing you do that you actually cope with it, that takes your mind off it. And then at the long run, I was so happy with what she just did. She was just open to the guy and the guy was like, okay, we'll walk around it. These are the things that you do whenever you're triggered. So they will just walk around it and make sure that she's being monitored and she finds herself in a space whereby she feels like letting it out. I think she made like letting the whole abuse or the whole trauma out of her mouth. She has really fought a very big thing. Like she has really speak out her mind, and the guy was ready to help. It's just having to see someone that is ready to help. It shouldn't necessarily be the boyfriend or someone. At least speaking to someone else will really help, and having to exercise more often would really help too.
So I want to ask about the cost of accessing maybe psychiatric treatment, because we're Africans, we believe so much in the spiritual controls the physical.
Yeah.
So I've seen people with mental disorder, visible mental disorder, and maybe aside, first of all, there is the aspect of it's too expensive to take them to a psychiatric home. So because of that, already the parents will just, or whoever, the caregiver or whoever, they'll start thinking of alternative. And there will always be this relative that knows one herbal treatment, or some they take them to, I won't call the church name, to go and tie them there and keep them. I want you to really shed light on this. How is it? What harm is it causing? Or could this high cost of accessing this care also contributing to people not getting the right treatment?
High cost of accessing the treatment. Well, it depends, but to me, I really don't think like that different portals. Like, I don't know how to put it. Like, you don't need to go for the one you can afford. Yeah, let me just put it that way. You go for the one you can afford. So when we're talking about the high cost of accessing the treatments, maybe for someone that maybe in their mind they really want to dump the individual at the hospital and just let me just bust in, bust out, hope no problem, or if the person needs anything, just call me on the phone. I think for that it's really going to cost them a lot, because having to just dump an individual in the facility, and the only thing you just want to do is just to keep dishing out the money, and it's really going to cost them a lot because of the caregiver that would take care of them, that will be running out scatter, and the admission fee, the bed fee, and the likes. But for someone that wants to really wants to be a part of the healing process for any individual, I think it's not going to cost so much as it should cost for someone that just wants to just dump the whole responsibility at the hospital. So it's not going to cost them that much, but it's always very good to always reach out and get treated instead of having to go the spiritual way. Fine. Like you said, the spiritual controls the physical, but we really need to help ourselves before we start thinking that God will help us. We really need to I'm not against having to pray, you guess, but then they will say one thing, that once you get, like, even before you use the medication, you need to say a prayer that God, please let this medication work for me, and let it touch every aspect it needs to touch. That's you still inviting God in.
Are there
whatsoever
some mental cases that you've seen or from your experience that are spiritual? They know that they've tried all and the doctor say, "Oh, I'm not gonna carry this one and go village."
I've really not seen, because at the end of the day, when they get to give them their drug, they get to get suppressed.
Okay, so taking you back to the story of the lady you shared when you said she was just trying to go out and get what her coping mechanism is. I now let's what if my coping mechanism is alcohol, or I have a first of all, my coping mechanism is alcohol, and it doesn't cause anybody any harm, or maybe one or two bottle. Is that not a way of treating myself?
It's even a way of igniting yourself, actually. Like, it's actually a way of even making yourself, like, perhaps, but like, having to make your brain nerves work in ways that you
But I'm seeing
yourself.
something. Alcohol is like a drug.
Yeah,
Correct
it
me.
is. It's
When you say they
substance
give
of
you
abuse.
drug and then to calm you down,
That is not
and
that.
I buy my drug to calm myself down, right? Without going to the hospital. I
And what's
didn't.
the after effects?
What's the I take 2 Jecom or what's that?
Okay,
Does it affect me in any way? Is it is that not relieving my stress?
not really kicking against alcohol intake, because I don't think it doesn't mean the person taking it is really on a bad edge. But no, too much of alcohol intake, like I was be specific now, too much of alcohol intake is very bad and is not good for the brain, because there are some people that it's not only even alcohol. I don't know if we've heard of people that take is it codeine or the likes. I've seen scenarios whereby I've seen a friend of mine took codeine, and it just, at first it was okay. It was not, there was no sudden reaction, and just suddenly there was this throwing up, restlessness, and the lights just kicking in. Not that it took so much, it was just a minute quantity. But then after the law, what's wrong? Why you throwing up? Why this? Why that? It was feeling so bad, like he couldn't even open up that okay, I took this. And I was like, okay, maybe when you feel better, Sha, since you are not saying anything, so we know what to say when we get to the hospital, maybe you'll be fine. So when the person actually opened up, I'm like, that no, I think that's just the reason why you were just being quiet about it, because you know you've taken a substance of abuse. Even if at the small intake of it, it really has something it does to the body, and depends on how the body mechanism or the body metabolism digests it and how it's works with it. There's some people that they really don't need to take up to 2 bottles of what you said, and you just see them start misbehaving.
Yeah.
Because, and also I have a friend that will tell you that I don't know how to talk except I take alcohol. I'm like, really? That means like that's really telling me already that you're an alcohol dependent. Like you don't know how to do something without having to take alcohol. I was just okay. I already came to my conclusion without one speech. The person needs help. Because I don't know how you feel you can't face the crowd without taking alcohol.
No, there are people that can talk. On a normal day, they will talk. But when they take alcohol, it enhances it. Maybe it takes them to another level.
That is that is what
I
we're
don't
saying.
think, for example, now maybe the way I'm talking now, then maybe if I take, it's an assumption anyway, because we're on TV now. So, so if I take an X number of bottles, and suddenly maybe someone that I'm not able to face, I'm able to face the person, or I talk at a higher rate, then is that still a challenge?
It's a challenge.
Hi.
The person is an alcohol dependent. Like you feel like even if it's just a small bottle, I should be able to face anybody, which is wrong. Like once we know that we cannot, we're not in our mental state, like we can't cope with some things that have been visible to us, and we always want to look for a quick coping mechanism to actually attack those things. That's a sign that we're already going down the journey.
What if I'm not depressed and I just feel like taking it?
Why are you
It's
so?
not a matter of.
Why are you
it's
so
not a matter
concerned
of
about
depression,
this?
actually.
No, like you are showing so much concern on your face. I'm worried. So,
No,
okay,
I'm speaking for the people out
No.
there.
okay, for the people. All right, for the people.
Actually, I think I was able to read it through that men tend to see alcohol as a part that they can wire through because
Is it not because
they
the
carry
women
a
stress
lot.
the men a lot?
Maybe
Okay.
because I do like sort of like they actually carry a lot of responsibility. Like there is like they are the breadwinner. They have to provide. They must not see them being in this mood. They have to keep going. As in really, everybody has this emotional part, and there are sometimes everybody experience emotional breakdown. So it's not really a thing of it's not really a stigma when men experience emotional breakdown. Fine, women are prone to that because we're very fragile and all our emotions are just
But don't forget, we are Africans. We don't want to display our emotions publicly. I'm talking about the men
yeah.
now.
That's what I'm trying to say. That the fact that you men try to bottle up a lot, it's really makes you feel even at the very edge of having depression or anxiety. So it's even
But
very
sometimes it's not about depression now. Now, some guys will take it and say, I need to reason well. Maybe there are issues to be solved. Not that you are depressed, but you have issues to be solved and you want to be on your own. You feel that, okay, let me take this. I'll be able to reason well. You do things.
he's already altering that there are actually normal ways they can reason well. They can go for exercise while having the exercise, they can reason well, like pull out the stress, like let it out. You can like there are some people that they actually don't wrestle, but they go for this wrestling training. Not that they really want to do it, but they just want to let out the stress, like just want to put it out. Even if they can't punch anyone, they want to share as like pull out the old stress, pull out the old emotion. Like let it just sleep, let it just come out. I think I've seen scenarios about I think a lady she wasn't even a writer, like maybe she was bottling up so much and they just gave her something to just damage. Yeah, like that sometimes they might want you to just let it out. Like having to let out those things, people get to be free from whatever that they're harboring or whatever that is running through their head and their mind. And eating healthy, having to take more exercise, eat healthy, and like somebody should like the person should just incorporate an habit, like an habit, maybe like an hobby that the person has meaning to do. Like
Sorry, I'm really interested in these coping mechanisms. Now, you mentioned certain things, those strategies that can be adopted as coping mechanisms. You mentioned eating, walking.
eating.
Okay. Apologies for that. Okay, walking, exercising. That's a form of a coping mechanism. Now you talk about drinking not being one, you're faulting it. What's the difference? Different ways of getting the same result. For some people, it could be music, listening to music.
Yeah.
I love music a lot. I attach emotions to music. Sometimes I want to relax. I relax with music. So it depends on which side of the divide you have. Maybe for this person, alcohol works for him. Maybe for this person, music works for the person. Yo. People are really interested. The truth of the matter is people are stressed in Nigeria now. People are stressed. So people are looking for ways to unwind. They're looking for ways to manage the stressful situations they find themselves. So I'm sure they'll be interested in this. Now they want to listen, okay, what can I do? For those that are not into alcohol, fine, they want to know other ways of easing the stress. But for some, especially the die-hard fans of alcohol, they will never agree with you. Though even amongst the alcoholics now, we have the social drinkers and we have the everyday drinkers. So they fall into different categories. But for some, it's music. And one thing I've learned is music goes straight. There are two things they said that go straight right into your brain. The music, then the other, I don't know if I can say that, but you know exactly what I'm saying. So those two, they go straight into your head. Other things may be okay, they'll still need some supporting factors. So that's just my take on it.
Okay, your take on it. Why alcohol is not part of a coping mechanism is that alcohol generally it's when you take too much alcohol, it damages the kidney, and from there it starts having to do with advanced illnesses like maybe diabetes, and from diabetes it goes to stroke. So, and not only with the fact that there are some chemicals or there are some elements in the alcohol composition that would trigger the brain, that goes XY in the brain, and alters a lot of neurotransmitters such as the serotonin and the dopamine, and whereby it helps to block their metabolism rate, that digestive system, like that absorption of food. So once they don't get these things very well, once someone takes alcohol and all those things are being distorted, there's no how the person will get enough hormone, enough serotonin or enough dopamine that would help the person to function very well. So that's already leading to mental illnesses, because those are part of the things, like those are part of the those are majorly the things that causes mental illness, apart from genetics, like having to block that channel. So if someone takes alcohol as a coping mechanism, the person should welcome a lot of diseases.
Okay.
So let me hold you there on genetics. Let's wrap up this quickly. But genetics now.
Okay.
When you talk about genetics, I know that there are some sicknesses that are, or some ailments. I don't know if mental disorders and all of that is more prevalent among certain populations, right? If you talk about things like stroke, they'll tell you among Africans, right? And all of those things. And any ailment that has to do with nutrition, you see, we are always at the receiving end most times, even African American communities, right? For mental illness, is there anything like that where it shows prevalence among certain populations? Maybe white population, black population. I don't know.
No, I think in the world that we are now, I think, well, it shows more population in the white more population in the white populations actually, because Nigerians, we have, like, I think we can adapt a lot, and we get to bottle up so much. So that habit of adapting and bottling up so much really as in allowed us to be in the timeline like that, like having to deal with mental illnesses. But nowadays, I think the father was speaking out and were reaching out for help and for treatment. I think we're already having more of it now down here too, and that's fair enough. At least there's awareness for it now. Not that we'll just keep bottling up so much and forgetting ourselves.
So do you think government is doing enough in terms of public enlightenment regarding mental health?
Yeah, I'll say they're trying. They're really trying. They're making their facilities accessible to all, and not making it so costly. They're making it very accessible to all, because I can weigh it. The federal parastatal that I work with and a private firm, I could say that they're making their facility accessible enough for someone that has mental illness.
So, all right. So lastly, if someone walks up to you now and the person says, I have a mental health issue, what would be your advice to such person and to some other persons out there?
At first, what does the person mean by mental health issue?
All the
Because
same.
for someone to say yes, he or she has a mental health issue, that means the person is already maybe probably talking to someone and the person already made it so obvious that you have a mental health issue. Or for someone that is learned like us and the person just walks up that I have a mental health issue, well, I would be so calm and kind to the person, and I would advise the person to reach out to a facility for proper treatment, because it's better now than later, Abby.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So the issue of mental health challenges cannot be exhausted within the few minutes that we've been talking about it. It's something that will keep on occurring, and people will always be a public discourse. So it's not something that we can exhaust now. However, if you feel there are people around you who have mental challenges, who have mental health challenges, and you feel they need their help, please, let's be our neighbors keepers. Let's live that African life, that African communal life that we've always been. Let's be our neighbors helpers. Let's see what we can do to help our people, our neighbors. On this note, I want to say a very big thank you to you for listening to us, and we hope to see you another time. Thank you for coming on the show. Hope to see you guys again. Thank you.